Hello and welcome back to Power Sessions with Natasha, where we find our confidence, our power, and where we have real conversations. Today we are continuing with the powerful series of Africa's kings, and we are going to Egypt today to look at a king called Imhotep. He was the second king of Egypt's third dynasty. His name means the one who comes in peace is with peace. Imhotep lived in the 20th century BC. He was an Egyptian polymath, considered to be the first architect, engineer, and physician in recorded history. He was also revered as a philosopher and one of only a few commoners ever to be acknowledged by the Egyptian people as having divine status after his death. Born in 2980 BC to parents of non-noble blood, his father, Kanofa, was an architect, and his mother was named Kredunka in the third dynasty of the Old Kingdom. Little of Imhotep's childhood is known till today, but what we do know is he first served in the court of King Zosa as a scribe, then as a physician, and then as a vizier. A vizier is an official, but it quickly became apparent that he was one of the sharpest minds of the time, and he rose quickly through the ranks and went on to become Zosa's vizier, the highest official to serve the pharaoh. He had a genius-level intellect, and in addition to being Zosa's vizier, he was an architect, sage, astrologer, and physician. He distinguished himself in the king's court by designing a tomb for Zosa called a mastaba, and through a series of alterations, 6 blocks, decreasing in size when vertically stacked on top of each other, created what architects call the step pyramid, which is the first pyramid in human history. It measured 389 by 463 feet at its base and was 204 feet high. This pyramid, which symbolically represented a Heb-Sed, which is a reincarnation jubilee ceremony, was part of a complex that included shafts, passageways, underground chambers, chapels, courts the king to enjoy in the afterlife. It was the first building in the world to be built of cut stone in level courses. Many historians believe that Imhotep is the author of the so-called Edwin Smith Papyrus. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is named after a dealer who bought these papyrus. He named them after himself. Why, we don't know, because he never wrote them. Well, in these papyrus, there's a lot of information, and they contain over 90 anatomical terms and 48 injuries. Imhotep diagnosed and treated over 200 diseases. In this papyrus, you can see there are listed 15 diseases of the abdomen, 11 of the bladder, 10 of the rectum, 29 of the eyes, and 18 of the skin, hair, nails, and tongue. Imhotep treated tuberculosis, gallstones, appendicitis, gout, and arthritis. He also performed surgery and practiced some dentistry. Imhotep extracted medicine from plants. He also knew the position and function of the vital organs and circulation of the blood system. This ancient text is the oldest known written manual of surgery and trauma, and it describes 48 cases of wounds, fractures, dislocations, and tumors. Among the treatments described are suturing of wounds, splinting, bandaging, managing infections with honey and resins, and the use of raw meat for the purpose of hematosis. Immobilization was also advised for lower limb fractures and spinal cord injuries, and it also describes reasonably detailed anatomical and physiological description. So great was Imhotep's prowess as a doctor that he was one of the few non-pharaohs to be deified as a god. He was worshipped in Greece as their god of medicine. Along with his reputation as an architect and doctor, he was also revered as a philosopher, and astronomer. The deification of Imhotep happened 100 years after his death. His status was elevated to that of a demigod, and around 2000 years after his death in 525 BCE, Imhotep's status was finally elevated to that of a god of medicine and healing. Together with Imhotep, he was one of the two Egyptian commoners to achieve that status. It is told that people brought offerings in his honor to Saqqara, such as mummified ibis and clay models of diseased organs and limbs in the hope of being healed of diseases from which they were suffering. The story of Imhotep is a truly remarkable one, a commoner by birth that laid the foundations for the medical profession over 4,500 years ago and over 2,000 years before the birth of Hippocrates. His legacy affected the great civilizations that followed, and without him, medicine may not be where it is today. Today we should do what the ancient scribes did when they paid tribute to Imhotep and pour some libations for his immortal genius. We come from kings and queens, and we must learn about these kings and queens because our history comes from them. Most people are told that Greece and Greeks are the gods of medicine, but when you look into the history, you see it all came from Africa. A lot of the papyruses, a lot of the medical writings, a lot of the history was burnt and destroyed by racist colonizers. Imagine if any of this information had not been burnt, had not been hidden, where we would be as a people. Please do not underestimate your history as a people. A lot of lies have been told to African people that we have never added anything into history. The lies have been able to divide and conquer the minds of our people. There is so much information for us to look at and learn as a people. Our freedom will begin in the reading and the relearning of who we were and who we are as a people. It will not magically appear, because to heal the wounded people, they need to learn where the wounds come from. And our history is where our wounds come from. Our history is what has been taken and lied and has been taken and given ownership to people who never worked for it, people who never earned it, people who stole it and told everybody that they originated from them. The lies are what we have been told and fed, and is what is taught in schools. So many of our children go to these schools and are told all this information that is lies, the theft of our history. We must go back and reclaim this history for the sake of our kings and queens who labored for us to be great. We must reclaim this history and learn about it. So I urge you to go and learn about this king Imhotep. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.